All right, hey y'all. So Rob Nelson and I had talked earlier about how we might do a collaborative graphing assignment with our students' remote learning style because the Vernier graphical analysis would not really be a good option. So I thought about how could we make a Google spreadsheet that would kind of mimic that behavior. And this is what I came up with, quick, dirty, unrehearsed. But if you have a shared Google sheet, what we can do is we can kind of pre-create a template for a graph that we want the students to make. So I'm putting some data into a table here that, and you can make the formatting nicer. We could put a border around the table or something to try and make it as easy as possible. But if we create the graph for them, and we can choose whether we want it to be a scatter plot, whatever we want to do. And then I wouldn't go too far with this. I would make them title it. I would make them put labels on the X and Y axes. The same things we expect them to do with graphical by Vernier, only they'll have to learn how to use Google, which in my opinion isn't a terrible thing. We can preset it to have a trend line for them with the use the equation as the label. So that's in y equals mx plus b form. So they get their slope. If we, I think we actually always work with linear data. So just leave it as linear, even though this isn't the sample data I typed in. Whatever, no big deal. What's going to happen is that this template now is there, and they've got their slope, they've got their equation. Google Sheets does an R squared value, and I think Vernier does like RMSE or something slightly different, but it's the same concept. As the closer that number is to 1, the better the data fits. When we then have that template made, once you delete the data and send it out to the students, as soon as they start typing data back in, it's going to automatically start to make the graph for them just like Vernier does, because we've kind of made the template. And all the settings that we put in there will be saved. So it's still doing a best fit line, and it's still doing the equation in y equals mx plus b form for there. Now the one thing is that if we don't set a scale for it, it's going to auto scale. So maybe you want to preset a scale like this, and then that setting will be remembered too. So once they start typing data in, it's not going to auto scale anymore. Now we've got a scale preset into our template. Essentially, we'll think about it like that. And once they start to put data in, those scale settings are going to be remembered as well, like you can see here. So I think that this is a solution that is not quite as user-friendly as graphical analysis is, but for remote learning, I'm not sure what else we can do. So this is the example that Rob and I had come up with. You can see we copied a picture of the data onto this so that they would have easy access to it. And I guess it's up to us, the other settings that we want to preset as far as labels and things like that. But again, I thought that getting them a little bit of exposure to this wasn't the worst thing in the world. They're going to need to use Google Graphs. So as far as sharing it, I had to go through some mental gymnastics for this one, but sharing it out is a little complicated. So essentially what we want to do is we want to make as many copies of that template as we need for each group that we assign it to. And I'll kind of explain why I think that's the best way to do it, even though it does seem like a lot of work. So I don't know if I want to do it this way. Like, I might want to just tell them what their groups are and have them make their own copy of it and share it with their group members. That's more student led, definitely. It's also more prone to them making a mistake. But here's the deal. You can select in Google Classroom to only assign something to a particular set of students. So I would have this be Main Lakes Group 1. and I would choose those 4 students that were a part of group 1. And then I want to say students can edit the file, but I'm not going to share with them the template like I'm doing in the example on the screen right now. What I'm going to share with them is a copy of the template that I've made ahead of time specifically for their group. So I might call it period 1 group 1, and then I have to make another copy, period 1 group 2, and so on and so forth. And so the advantage to that, like I was talking about, is that I have done the logistical work for them. I've made the document for their group, and then I'm going to assign that to those individuals. And then I have to make a new assignment in Google Classroom for the next group, and then another assignment for the next group. Now you can reuse assignments in Google Classroom to make that go a little faster, but it still seems like a lot of work to me. So that's why I think the student-led way of just saying, here are your group assignments. Whoever's the group leader, you need to make a copy of this template and share it with your other 3 partners. That's really probably the way we should do it, right? But I'm just speaking off the top of my mind right now. I'll end it at that. Let me know what you guys think. If this is a system that makes sense for collaborative graphing. And cheers.